How's it going, guys? It's Mr. Lone Wolf, and today I'm going to go and start like the missions. They're in the contracts, and it's called Stage One, like the whole group. And the first one is called Supply Depot, and apparently you need to do all of these to unlock the one of the vehicles that is in this game. It's the Azov something something Sprinter, which is over here in the corner. Where is it? About there. Again, it looks a little bit like a building because it's quite a square truck. I've just got a tiny bit of footage here. It was when I drove my Dolphin over there. Like I said, there's no box when you get next to it. It doesn't say vehicle discovered or anything like that. I couldn't change vehicle into it. Apparently, you got to do these missions first. So yeah, this first one, Supply Depot. It's that warehouse like at the top. I went past it when I was like doing all the watchtowers. There's a generator which is basically in the yard, like where your garage originally starts, and then you also need to take 4 lots of fuel, which is from that building there. Hence, one around the bottom of the map. Go up the right hand side, and then yeah, to the warehouse. And for this, in hindsight, I'd probably recommend a different vehicle, but I'll get into that as and when. But yeah, I fancied bringing out the old off-road Dolphin for this one, and not Lo4f, of course. Always got to have a goddamn horse or a vehicle with you. You never know when he'll save the day, but he usually does. Well, usually. He always does. So, yeah, my plan for this one, like I said, I need to grab this generator, which was still in the yard. You have to drive a little bit here, but there it is, to my left. And then, yeah, because I need 4 lots of fuel as well, I'm going to need a 4-slot trailer. And then what I kind of figured is, once I'm towing everything, as the 4-slot trailer would have fuel on it, I figured I kind of want that to be attached to my truck, so that's why I've just winched the generator trailer now. I'm going to tow a 4-slot trailer behind me and then just winch the generator trailer, because I just figured, even though you'll see, there's definitely, in the end I'd probably do this mission with a Zik 605R. There's a couple of reasons. The Dolphin's fine, it's not like the truck's been doing my head in specifically, but you'll see why it probably just would make more sense. Yeah, and then at least if the generator trailer tips over, because it's only being like towed by a winch, it's not the end of the world, as in I'm not going to lose cargo or anything. I could put a crane on this Dolphin, but if I'm not mistaken, unless they've changed it, I believe if I do put a crane on it, it'll push the sideboard back and then won't let me attach a trailer. And there does still appear to be some kind of thing that just automatically slows you down a bit in the garage there. This the old Dolphin was struggling to... just when it doesn't let you out of first gear, and it's not just that. There's a bit of footage later that's quite a good example of when there's no inherent limits on the map, it's just letting you do what you do. I'm in first gear, but the revs are going nice and high, and that's one reason I've always liked this truck, because not only does it actually feel like it's putting a lot of effort in, and it like the revs go quite nice and high in high range and all the rest of it, so you get quite a lot of torque. Just sound-wise as well, it sounds like it's revving high and that you're getting at least everything out of the engine. As I think vehicle by vehicle, or roughly, they've not only got vehicle rev caps, but then I believe there's also certain areas of the map that are just, yeah, completely like, the whole thing is just capped to a certain rev limit, and then there's certain areas that, because even if you're in first gear and you're technically going fast enough where you could jump up to second gear, especially if you're tapping L1, and it just never does, it won't let you. But not only that, it won't even let you rev all the way up in first gear, which that's kind of how it stops you from being able to jump into second and so on. It's a bit like, yeah, sort of an automatic limiter where unless your revs are high enough, it just won't let you. Funnily enough, the only car I've ever had where that I've had something like that was the M5, because it had those flappy paddle gearboxes. Say, I don't know, say if I was in 7th gear and I was doing 150 miles an hour, it wouldn't let me just click the flappy paddles down to first gear, because it'd already know, like, obviously I'm just going to detonate the gearbox at that point. So I'd have to be going like a speed where they've already predetermined, where like it won't, or the same, to be honest, going up the gears, it didn't really, like, you could pull off in third and stuff, but say if I was started and I tried to click up to 5th gear at 1 mile an hour, it probably wouldn't let me, because it just knows the revs would go too low and it'll stall and blah blah blah. And yeah, that's kind of what this game does. It's got like an artificial limiter in certain places, and you can see now with the Dolphin, I certainly don't want to put it all onto this truck as such. Like, it's not doing terrible, but I'll also say I haven't got much of a benchmark because I've only just got my internet and everything going. I only got on the game the day before yesterday or whenever it was. I've pretty much I didn't even go on the map the first night I made a video, because then the next day I did that exploration video. So the exploration video is like the first time I've ever been on this map, and I drove the Zix, which was handy for a couple of reasons. One, it's a bit of a chunkier truck that might have a little bit more weight pulling wise, but it wasn't really that. I'd say in the end it was fuel that was the big thing with this. I made well, a couple of mistakes, but one in particular, like the fuel depot thing we're going to now, where I'm going to get the 4 lots of fuel cargo. I didn't realise, but you can't get fuel from there, it won't fill your vehicle up, and that's what I thought I was able to do once I get there, basically. So there's a little bit of a sort of error on my part, but yeah, just in general, like even as I'm going now, there's a few bits where the Dolphin's pulling fine, but the thing with the Dolphin is, like, as I said, it revs high now, which I like, and in a lot of places you're still able to put your foot down, get in high gear, and make really good time. By the way, I was driving that little Gore, whatever the thing it's called, was it the first or second night? I abandoned it there because it was going so slow through all this mud. Oh yeah, it was the first night. It was when I drove the Dolphin to go and look at that Sprinter thing. And yeah, I was like, just as I was driving past it, I thought, sod it, I'm going to nick the fuel out of it. And to be honest, it's a good job I did, really, because again, I just still at this point thought I could fill up at this fuel place I'm going to. And then yeah, was it yesterday or whatever I drove on the live stream? It was pretty much all mods and stuff, so obviously they tend to have like a bit of an easier time flying around. But yeah, I haven't got a good baseline on this map for what vehicles are good, what vehicles aren't. I certainly, when I drove the Zix round, and bearing in mind that was like, well, it was a Zix, I had a few loafs on it, and I was towing a Defender at one point, but not for very long. This at least has now got like a loaf. The loaf doesn't matter because, like I said, it's weightless, and then the trailer, and then the generator. And I think it's just between that and then the certain bits of this map that don't really let you get your foot down, get any grip. You sort of have like a speed restriction almost, where it just won't let you go faster than that. Yeah, I'm just burning a lot of fuel, but I'm not really travelling very fast. So I'm already assuming on this map, at least if I had to go this way again, the vehicles I'd probably consider are stuff more like the Kolob, probably the flat face one. The long nose one is really good as well. It's certainly like nigh on impossible to tip, but because it hasn't got the diff locks, you just end up spending more time in the low ranges basically, whereas the flat face one, even if you're in auto, you still get the diff locks, so at least just in general you get going a little bit quicker. Yeah, either the Klobs or again the Zix, because it's got a roof rack and all the rest of it. It'd be pretty cool by now, I think, really, with this off-road Dolphin. They need to, one, give it a roof rack, because they've certainly added various trucks by now that have some kind of roof rack that's able to go on. This is certainly a perfect candidate because it's got a nice big flat roof. You can even fit a loaf on the roof of this. And then as well, I don't know, either raise suspension for it or just do something with the chin of the Dolphin, because it's one of them where like it likes to sort of bump the floor, but it catches rather than skids off. And the Club used to do that, the flat face one, and everybody, I think, pretty much just avoided that truck because for the money it just wasn't worth it. But they actually fixed that, and then it became a pretty good popular truck. And then they added raised suspension to it, and then it became an even better truck, really. Oh yeah, so then we get to this point, which this is basically what I was saying. Like, obviously the generator's tipped. It'd be better than the flatbed tipping once I've got the cargo on it, but this generator trailer is annoying. I've had to rarely tow them before, but I still remember it was on Wisconsin or something. As you can see, I tried to flick it over, it just flopped straight over to the other side. Trailers in this game just really don't sit like as weighted at the bottom as trailers should. That's one thing I like about Fox's trailer mods. He's added weight to the bottom, but that can make it difficult for some of the stock vehicles to pull them, because he's, I believe, added weight. But nonetheless, usually, obviously, if I've got his mods on, I've got mods his trucks and all sorts, and Bartelby's mods and JBE. So I've usually got the power, like it doesn't matter that the trailer weighs a bit more. But yeah, long story short, as you'll see, this generated trailer was being a bit of a pain in the arse, to say the least. Now, at this point right now, I didn't even realise I was getting the cargo from this square. I thought it was a fuel thing. And I thought it was a bit annoying that they've kind of put a little post and everything in the way. But no, when I drove into the square, I was like, oh, it's to get the cargo. And then I was thinking, oh, is this other yellow square where you refuel then? And yeah, I don't believe it is. I believe it's like a service thing, so yeah, I'm pretty certain just before I went in there I had suspension damage. It's funny actually, because I've added a few service stations like that around here, and or service area or whatever it's called. I remember like ages ago when my Hummer was flying around in the air on White Valley, by pure chance, even though I was about 500 foot in the air, I flew over one of those squares and it fixed my Hummer mid-air. So yeah, they sort of stick out in my memory a little bit. They've put quite a few around this map, which makes sense a little bit because it's kind of a racetrack, but I've also noticed a few areas where I got some really trollish damage, like I'm going, you know, 1 mile an hour and just suddenly bang, sounds like an IED is detonated under your truck and you lose 3/4 of your suspension and stuff. So I'm also wondering if they've, you know, kind of done that as a bit like, yeah, it's going to drive people mad after a while. I mean, you can take well, I mean, get yourself a Lo4f, he's a goddamn professional, he's always got some spares and repairs on him, but yeah, worst case, just sort of scattered maintenance trailers and all sorts everywhere. See, places like this where you can get in high gear and you're actually moving at this speed is pretty handy. I reckon it was going to stall there. I definitely think, and other people seem to have confirmed it as well, that they've tweaked it, you know, knocked it down a few percent. The Zix felt a little bit more gutless than it used to be. This did as well. Just a little bit quicker to drop off the revs, like when it's going to say stalling or it's going to auto jump down gears. It just seems a little bit more eager to do that rather than trying. So here's an example though, even in first gear I believe I was then, you could hear it revving nice and high. I went down to low. The issue with low, and I think there's a bit later that demonstrates it quite well, is they're so harsh on the RPM limit that whatever programmed gain you get from going in low, and I do believe there is a gain, like a statistical boost of some kind just for using the low range gears, but the amount that it blocks the revs, it's not always beneficial. Some trucks it doesn't really make much difference, but particularly with this Dolphin that does rev quite high in auto, when you go down to the low range, it's just, you lose more in lack of RPM than you gain in whatever bonus it gives you. So a lot of the times with stuff like that, you're best off in auto and just keep flooring it, and you need like the quick wheel speed to sort of just keep spinning and scratching over those rocks, and then eventually it'll bump over. Like low speed really doesn't do well for getting over rocks because the wheels don't tend to actually dig in and climb up. You just, yeah, just kind of have to floor your wheels, spin them as quick as you can, and just they catch here and there and it'll sort of flick you up in the end. I stopped at that point. I edited it out because the video was getting on a bit, but I just used the fuel off the Lo4f, the roof rack, and I believe some of the fuel as well in the Lo4f. I can't actually remember off the top of my head, but yeah, something like that. And like I say, it was just refueling basically. Yeah, my Dolphins topped back up. And I know, like, when I was doing this, obviously some of you might blasphemy, if you ask me, suggest like, why have I got my Lo4f in the sideboard? Because I could put 2 lots of cargo in there. But the thing is with a Lo4f, he's a goddamn professional, and he's earned that seat, and he deserves it. And even though I could theoretically do that, I didn't need to. I could do a lot of things. I could put my dick in a microwave. Well, the tip, a microwave full. I mean, Christ, put the whole thing in. It's a microwave oven, not Auschwitz. But yeah, it's, I like my Lo4f where he is. Like I say, he's earned the spot. And I'd have to bring a 2-slot trailer anyway. They tip like a beast as well. Again though, that's another reason, if I was to do this mission again, but it was like, right, just do it as sort of easy and simple as you reckon it can be done. I think I would get Zix, stick a loaf on the roof, but again that sort of goes without saying. It's like when a doctor says breathe, they don't have to specify air. You didn't go, oh shit, where's a bag of helium? So yeah, get a Zix with a loaf on the roof, get a sideboard that'll be 2 of your cargo, and then I suppose get a 2-slot trailer and then winch the generator behind you like I'm doing. Or get a Zix, put a loaf on the roof and a loaf in the sideboard, and then get a 4-slot trailer and then winch the generator. Something along those lines. And again, it wasn't really particularly like... I just don't think the Dolphin was too well suited to this mission for a couple of reasons. One, I've not only got a trailer, the trailer is a twat as well, let's be honest. The ramped flatbed, for whatever reason, always feels like it's digging in. I've shown it, proved it multiple times that it's got like some invisible hitbox. So it's like them tractor pulling bloody things that I used to watch in the 90s and then I've since seen on YouTube. Yeah, where they have to pull that big sled that somehow gets heavier. I think they move the thing forward. You know what I mean. That's what towing the ramped flatbed is like anyway. And on top of that, just the generator trailer. The biggest thing with the generator trailer is, as you can see, every time it flops over, it doesn't really want to tip back that easily because it has no weight low down compared to sort of all through it. It doesn't, yeah, it's not weighted in any kind of way, so it flops over pretty easily, but it also is not particularly keen on getting back to its wheels. I was just having a little look there, see kind of what it is. Was it vehicle spare parts or something? Just, you never know. Would have been nice if it said fuel, not gonna lie. But yeah, in general, I was just having a look what's there. I believe the majority of things that it seems like you're going to have to make on this map are going to be made at this supply depot that we're going to right now. Once you get the generator going, just say it quickly, like you see things like there, just little bits where it's catching the chin on the Dolphin. Yeah, once you get the generator there, I'll say it now, I should remember when I'm there, but turn the generator on once you deliver it, because yeah, otherwise it's not the end of the world, because you pretty much go around the other side of the building and then it'll say there's no power, and then you go, oh yeah, shit, I need to turn the generator on. So this hill here as well, this was the main hill where you'll see, I kind of look off to the left now. I didn't know at the time, but I was eyeballing it earlier, which is why I stick the handbrake on and check the map quickly. I was wondering about cutting across there and then joining this road, because this bit I'm about to get to, it's not like the end of the world, but it's a bit of an awkward bit. It's certainly a bit of a fuel burner and all the rest of it. And yeah, as I've got the ramped flatbed, which is prone to tip anyway and then throw the cargo everywhere, and then the generator that's being a bit of a dick and just flopping all over the place, as dicks tend to do. So yeah, I was hoping I could just rally across the side, but as I was looking at it, I don't know. And you see there, like, what, 1 mile an hour? Just took a big whack of damage for no apparent reason. And you see now, you can hear it there. I was in low range for a little bit, just to check myself as well, but it was probably not using quite as much fuel. I believe it was using about 18 litres a minute in low range, versus 23, maybe jumped up to 24 and that in auto, but just the amount more revs you can hear, and then you get a bit of extra speed as well, because even in sections like once you're in low, you're never going to benefit from when the game lets you get above first gear, if that makes sense. Like if you're in auto, at least when the game's going to let you jump up the gears, you will. But if you're in low, you've pretty much just already guaranteed your speed across a certain section. Obviously there's times and places where not only do I use low, but I prefer it. But I will say the Dolphin, yeah, the Dolphin in low range are not the most sensible combination, really. But what I noticed as I was going along this map, there is technically an easier way from the garage to this supply depot, but I had to go and get this fuel first, and then I've kind of already looped around the bottom of the map. But yeah, if you just had to go from the garage to this supply depot, I'd go kind of the other way, the opposite from the way I explored, and I'd be there in 5 minutes or something. So this video was, yeah, it was definitely longer than I expected. That's what she said, of course. Yeah, I was thinking probably more like 20-25 minutes. But there's a lot of things on this map. Not that I'm not saying like complaining about it or either way, just sort of an observation. There's a lot of things that trip you up, slow you down a bit. Again, driving this Dolphin, like you'd clip your chin on certain bits that were just kind of made that way that you're always going to. Yeah, certainly rocks here and there. So, as I said, I think in the end I'd just favour the vehicles that are probably a little bit slower anyway, but they've at least got like big massive tyres and all the rest of it, like the Zix and the Club. But as I do these missions, I'll be trying vehicles that, whether they're strictly like the best vehicle for the job, yeah, I don't always pick the like absolute objectively best vehicle for the job. I try to mix and match, but within reason. Also depends how I'm feeling that day and all the rest of it. If I've got plenty of time and I'm up for a bit of a challenge, I might take a bit of a weaker truck. If it's one of them days where not having it, then yeah, it's just like, right, get some super truck. So at this point, I will say as well, I apologise, I missed a little bit of video. There's not much, and I've been able to add it back. I'll show you how. I basically missed the footage of me driving over the bridge up ahead and up the hill. It's not a lot, and you'll see why. What happens now is I get a bit unlucky here because I clip the rock to the left and it bounces me, and that happens. At this point, I thought, oh, as long as the cargo doesn't tip. I floored it with the Dolphin, the cargo tipped, and then you got to make a quick decision. I quit and reloaded the game, and I reloaded not long before where I just crashed, so it all worked out fine. It's just I forgot to save the footage within 15 minutes. It sort of records 15 minutes back, so then as I was getting up here, you'll see why I ended up taking a bit longer. I'm blaming it on the generator trailer and a certain, I would say, a bug that's been in the game before this season, but yeah, it took longer than I expected, so I didn't save the footage in time, basically, so it cut like the first minute odd off. But all you basically missed was from where this video started. This was like in the exploration video. I drove over that bridge and then up this hill, and then where that blue marker is, just past that is where like the footage carries on again. So I apologise, I didn't miss a lot, but there's no the only way I could recreate the footage is to go back, do the same journey again with the Dolphin for lots of fuel, and I'll be honest, I'm not doing that because I'll be pulling my hair out by the end of it. And then in a few seconds now it's just going to switch back to tonight's mission. I just thought in the end, as I'd lost the footage, I thought, sod it, if I can at least find the footage of just me going the same way. So for any of you that are not very used to the map like I'm not as well, you can kind of still keep track of what's going on. I mean, yeah, even at this point you can see the fuel's getting pretty low. Going through the mud, it's just the whole section feels like it's been programmed. Just that it's never going to let you go, it's like have the Dolphin in high gear and all the rest of it. Which again is, I'm not strictly complaining, it's just it probably wasn't the best suited truck for like this sort of mission. If I had to do something, I don't know, say I had to get 2 lots of fuel and I could just stick it in the sideboard. I know I'm going to bring a loaf, but I could put the loaf on top of the cargo at that point. If you just had the Dolphin as its own little unit and could just gun it straight to this warehouse, it'd be a very good truck to take. But yeah, with all this stuff faffing around behind me, not the best. So, fortunately, as you can see, I'm pretty low on fuel, and then I decided, sod it, I'm doing it. I'm going to raid the fuel out of the generator, because fortunately that does have some fuel in it. I think it can hold 1,500 litres when it's full, but as this is like a mission generator, it only gives you 300, yeah, that's in it at the start. So I borrowed some for the Azov. I'll be honest, if you get in the same situation, I should have just refilled the Azov tank. There was no point really in just putting 100 over, although you'll see there probably was, actually, there probably was a little, like, a good reason to leave some in the generator, but I'll get to that. Stay tuned. But anyway, yeah, that's basically what I did. Just borrowed some fuel from the generator. I'll attach the trailer again. And then you see where an old bug, it's caught me out a few times in the past. it's just a bit of a pain in the ass because you're doing your thing, you've got your plans, you're working within the framework of the game, and then yeah, you get this annoying little thing happen that it's just like when you're there, you're like, what can I can't do anything about it that isn't going to just be a waste of time and sort of be annoying, because at that point it's not game difficulty, it's just like, yeah, sloppy polishing from the devs where they haven't finished it off, and like, yeah, it's just a bit of a bug. That rock there, by the way, a little bit awkward. If you hit it, you've seen it made me lean over quite a lot. A lot of the mud there actually sank quite a bit, but Dolphin's a beast. Lo4f's goddamn professional. Pretty sure he's gymnastically trained, so he's not tipping out of there. I eventually had to manually winch to a tree to my left because it kept picking these stupid little trees that just instantly pop out of the ground with no resistance, but then they don't phase through the floor, so when you try re-fire your winch out, it just keeps grabbing the same stupid thing. Right, can you see now? Look, I go to attach the winch to the generator, the circle is within reach, and it just won't highlight the thing, so I can't winch to the trailer. And then I went to reverse a little bit, as you've seen, instantly the ramped flatbed started tipping. Thankfully it didn't actually go enough to where you hear that dreaded noise and it all unpacks, but I just know if I reverse 1 inch further back I'm going to hear that noise. The bug has happened to me before where even if I reverse up to the trailer, it's just not going to let me winch to it. It's a pain in the ass. Like I said, it's not specific to this season. Well, you know, it's not necessarily a good thing though. It's been a bug for a while. It doesn't get you all the time, but it just gets you at the most awkward moment, because usually when you're doing something where you're trying to winch a trailer along with you, you've already got your hands full and you're juggling things around a bit, and then when it just randomly decides, like, for no reason, that it just won't let you winch to a certain point, even though it is within reach and all the rest of it, yeah, it kind of screws your plans up. So you can see pretty quickly, it's just like your immersion of the game dives off a bit. For what it's worth, when I quit and reloaded earlier when I rolled, stuff like that is exactly why I just take advantage of that little thing, that it can do it, and I quit and reload, because I'm also used to, at some point, the game, beyond the bounds of the game, will do some kind of bug or thing that'll bite me and waste my time. So I tend to gain it back via little things like that. Because I know in my own head I could drive a crane from the garage to where the trailer tipped and crane them all back on, but the crane's a weak pain in the arse, so that ends up being more stress than fun. Yeah, so I'm just saying that's how it kind of evens out. You win some, you lose some, but that's why I try and gain from the game when I can, because it'll inevitably try and screw me over. So instead, what I was originally going to do is just drag the trailer up through that rock gap annoying bit where it wouldn't let me winch to the generator. But yeah, I was just like, I don't know, I'll sod it, I'll just floor it. I mean, I wouldn't go as far as say mad, I'd turn a game off long before I'm actually fuming, if you know what I mean. So when I say, oh, it pissed me off and all that, I'm not literally sitting there like going mental, but yeah, you know what I mean. I was like, just, yeah, bored of this mission, drop the hammer now. And then as I was getting here, there's a trailer store. Once you've completed this mission, that'll appear behind there. That's why I dropped that trailer off. I was hoping that the trailer store was already there. I kind of thought it most likely wasn't, but yeah, I thought if it is, it'd be nice. I can spawn a fuel tank and fill everything up. But it wasn't, and not only that, but the trailer is like it's the second part of this mission. I don't want to say stage 2 because they've called the contract stage 1. But the second part of this mission is to drop those 4 fuel cargo things off. The first stage is to get that generator there that it wouldn't let me winch to. So now I've got to drive back to go and grab the generator. And again, this is why I lost that minute of footage, because just in my head when I saved the footage last time, I was like, oh, I'll definitely get to that yard within 15 minutes. And I would have, but yeah, I had to then go back and kind of double the journey because of that stupid generator. You can see now fuel is ticking down, and by the way, just say plan C, just think, like, if you think, well, it's lucky you didn't run out of fuel. When I got to about 15-20 litres, if I wasn't near enough to the generator, I would have put that in the loaf. 15-20 litres, you'll get a fucking half a lap of the entire map or something on 20 litres in a loaf. So What I then would have done is filled the loaf up, sent the loaf to the generator, and then either stole some fuel from the generator and shipped it back to the Dolphin, or just dragged the generator with the loaf back to the Dolphin. So I'll get here, I've just cut this bit out, but long story short, I just borrowed some fuel, robbed it out the generator, and I emptied the generator, by the way. And then yeah, now I've got to turn around. At least at this point, the only bright side, I suppose, in the end, was the last little bit of the journey I got to do with just the ramped flatbed with cargo. And you can see how fast the Dolphin was behaving when I was just towing that. It was certainly an improvement from also having to winch this trailer. I think the game possibly overly punishes you a bit when you're winching another trailer behind. Not always, but it just feels like with some vehicles it probably wouldn't make a difference, but the game makes sure it does. And then yeah, now I've attached the actual generator to my truck, not just winched. But you can see there, about 10 seconds ago, the generator trailer tipped over to the right. It wasn't, you know, now it's attached to my truck. It doesn't make it any less floppy and flying all over the place. It only didn't fully tip because, one, obviously eventually the like the hitch sort of locks after a certain point when it tips, but it was also those rocks there that it was kind of bouncing against. But yeah, not a fan of this trailer. Thankfully we never really have to use it a hell of a lot. And I think it was a different example. When I was going up that really steep hill where I considered cutting over to the left, that's where I was in auto but first gear, and it was letting me rev really high. But even then, you could hear it then, it was letting me rev nice and high. And that's when there's no map cap, and it's just at least letting you, yeah, drop the hammer, which, like I said, just the noise alone, just being able to hear an engine rev, it still feels like when I'm squeezing the throttle on my remote that something's happening. It's sort of a, I don't know, you're missing out feeling when you know, squeezing the remote for dear life, trying to put full revs, and then the game's only giving you like 900 RPM. You're barely on tick over on some trucks, and it sort of feels like you've been robbed. So yeah, finally we've got the generator. Well, I've already changed back to like midday, but it's sort of gone dark again. And you can see with the fuel, again it shrinks the screen, but I believe I'm just under 100 fuel now. The reason why I'm saying that, as you'll see, again, don't winch it. I thought I'd have to drop the trailer off to that same square, so if you're in the same situation, don't winch your trailer around here because it needs to go back round there. It's trying to be a smart ass, and yeah, didn't go well. There you go, got there and it said there should be at least 150 litres in this trailer. I was like, oh shit, because I've only got like 80 something in the Dolphin. I was like, oh yes, got 99 problems, but a loaf ain't one. Loaf, this goddamn horse of a vehicle, he's been stashing some fuel this entire time. He's been holding back on me because he knew. He was hogging it from the Dolphin because he knew the Dolphin would just frivolously burn it as it drives all over the place burning fuel. But the loaf, he just has a little sip. A little sip goes a long way. So thankfully the loaf was hogging some fuel. Between the loaf and the Dolphin, I could put at least 150 litres back in the generator, which then said stage completed. So then I robbed fuel back out of the generator so I could drive forward, but there is no trailer store yellow square here yet because I haven't completed the second stage of the mission. So that last bit of fuel I'm going to have to just finish this last little bit of the mission. Finally I turned it to daytime. I don't know why, even when I'm like editing afterwards, I just like it when it's nice and bright and it's daytime. Yeah, I was going to say a bit of precision reverse in there, but not amazing, better than nothing. Yeah, as you can see, the 4 fuel you got to drop in this square, sort of better off just not winching it. And then it jumps another square a little bit further back. But that's mission done. Again, I can't see because it shrinks the screen, but is it about 480 XP and nearly 5 grand? Yeah, the payout. And then I was just leaving this last bit in. You can now see there's a trailer store, a yellow square that's appeared here. So I was just going there to sell this trailer back to the store. and then I also spawned a fuel trailer, because one good thing is that generator has to have fuel, and then when you craft items it costs you fuel. But thankfully they have actually spawned a trailer store there, so fuel wise the generator won't be an issue. You can just keep going to the trailer store next to it, spawning fuel, and it is what it is. Worst case, if they didn't do it, we'd all end up just buying a fuel trailer from the garage and driving there. I mean, yeah, maybe, you know, they could have left it, it'd give us something else to do, but in all honesty, I don't mind that. They've kind of negated the point of the generator really needing fuel and all the rest of it, but yeah, I don't really care. It's kind of convenient. Like I say, if you want to do it properly yourself and all that, you know, spawn a trailer from the garage and drive there and deliver some fuel, so you can all, you know, do as much as you want, but at least if you can't be asked, it's nice that you can just spawn a fuel trailer. Yeah, long story short, remember to turn the generator on, because I didn't, so I edited it out, but I had to do another lap to go back and turn it on. And then that's about it. Once you get here to craft stuff, as I said, it's like I've now filled the generator up all the way, so it's got, I believe, 1,500 litres of fuel. And then each item I go to craft, it'll you can see kind of the middle of that box, it'll charge me a certain amount of fuel. And then yeah, these things I'll be able to build, like wooden planks is for one of the next missions. So that's about it. That's like, this is the first stage anyway, so I'll keep doing them as the days go by, and eventually, sooner rather than later, I'll have that sprinter truck unlocked. But yeah, that's about it for today though. I hope you enjoyed, I hope that helps. Thanks for watching. Get yourself a loaf because he's a goddamn professional, and I'll be back soon.